Beneath the oldest soil on Earth, scientists unearth fragments of genetic code that don't belong to any known species of human. It was discovered where humanity itself began. In Africa, the cradle of our species, the place where Homo sapiens first emerged 300,000 years ago. Yet this DNA doesn't fit anywhere on our family tree. When researchers analyzed modern African genomes in 2020, they found something impossible: genetic segments that diverged from our lineage not 50,000 years ago like Neanderthals, not 100,000 years ago, but between 500,000 and 1 million years ago. DNA from something that lived alongside our ancestors, something that interbred with early humans, something that left traces in our chromosomes, but no fossils we can identify, no skulls, no bones, no name. We know Neanderthals existed because we found their remains across Europe. We know Denisovans existed because we extracted their DNA from Siberian caves. But this is different. This is ghost DNA, genetic evidence of a human species that existed, interbred with our ancestors, and then vanished so completely that we don't even know what to call them. And here's what makes this discovery so disturbing. These ghosts aren't in the distant past, they're in us right now. Their DNA is woven into the genomes of millions of people alive today. Whose DNA is this? And how did it survive, hidden in our chromosomes for hundreds of thousands of years? The answer challenges everything we thought we knew about human evolution. What did we think we knew about where humans came from? The story of human evolution seemed straightforward, clear, established science, backed by decades of fossils, genetic studies, and archaeological evidence. Here's the accepted timeline. Homo sapiens first appear in Africa roughly 300,000 years ago. We evolved from earlier hominins like Homo heidelbergensis through gradual changes in anatomy, brain size, and behavior. Around 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, some populations began migrating out of Africa. They spread across the Middle East, into Europe, across Asia, eventually reaching Australia and the Americas. And during these migrations, something unexpected happened. Modern humans encountered other human species that had left Africa much earlier. In Europe and Western Asia, we met Neanderthals, stocky, cold-adapted humans who'd been there for hundreds of thousands of years. We interbred with them. Today, people of non-African descent carry 1 to 3% Neanderthal DNA. In Eastern Asia, we encountered Denisovans, mysterious humans, known mainly from DNA extracted from Siberian caves. We interbred with them too. People in Melanesia and parts of Southeast Asia carry up to 5% Denisovan DNA. This was the map, the family tree. Homo sapiens originated in Africa, migrated outward, met archaic humans outside Africa, interbred with them, and those archaic lineages left genetic traces in modern populations. Clean, elegant, complete. Or so we thought. Because that map has one glaring problem. It assumes that within Africa itself, human evolution was simple, that Homo sapiens evolved smoothly from earlier ancestors without encountering other distinct human species. But what if that assumption was wrong? What if Africa, the birthplace of humanity, was just as genetically complex as the rest of the world? What if our ancestors in Africa also encountered other human species and interbred with them? And what if the DNA from those encounters is still inside us? That tidy evolutionary map was supposed to explain everything until new genetic samples refused to fit. What happens when your genome contains DNA that doesn't match any known species? In the last decade, advances in genetic sequencing have allowed researchers to analyze thousands of modern human genomes from populations across Africa. The goal was to understand genetic diversity, migration patterns, and the deep history of human populations on the continent where we originated. But as researchers analyzed these genomes, they started noticing something strange. Certain populations, particularly in West and Central Africa, carried genetic segments that didn't match the expected pattern. These weren't just rare variants or unusual mutations. These were entire stretches of DNA that appeared far older than they should be. When you analyze DNA, you can estimate when lineages diverged by counting genetic differences. The more differences, the longer ago the split occurred. Modern humans and Neanderthals showed genetic divergence dating back about 500,000 to 600,000 years. That's when our lineages separated from a common ancestor. But these mysterious segments in African genomes showed divergence times of 500,000 to 1 million years. Some estimates pushed even deeper, possibly 1.5 million years. That shouldn't be possible. Homo sapiens as a species only emerged 300,000 years ago. So where did this DNA come from? The answer, published in multiple studies, including research by Durvasula and Sankararaman in 2020, is both fascinating and unsettling. Introgression from an unknown archaic hominin. Introgression means interbreeding between species. Modern humans interbred with something else, something ancient, something that had diverged from our lineage long before Homo sapiens existed, and that something left its DNA in us. The genetic signature is clearest in populations from West and Central Africa, particularly among groups in Cameroon, Nigeria, and surrounding regions. Up to 2 to 19% of their genomes show evidence of this archaic ancestry, depending on the population and the methods used to detect it. But here's what makes this truly mysterious. We don't have fossils to match this DNA. We can't point to a skull and say, "This is them." We can't name them. We don't know what they looked like, how they lived, or when they disappeared. All we have is their genetic shadow segments of DNA that glow differently when analyzed, like archaeological fragments that don't belong to any known civilization. It's as if a third cousin of humanity left a whisper of themselves behind and vanished. But who were they, and why can't we find them? If this DNA is real, whose DNA is it? Scientists have proposed several theories to explain this ghost lineage. None are certain. All raise more questions than they answer. Theory 1. An unknown archaic human species, unique to Africa. The most straightforward explanation is that Africa, like Europe and Asia, was home to multiple human species. Just as Neanderthals lived in Europe and Denisovans in Asia, perhaps another distinct archaic hominin lived in Africa alongside early Homo sapiens. This species would have diverged from our lineage sometime between 500,000 and 1 million years ago, likely descending from Homo heidelbergensis, or an even earlier ancestor like Homo erectus. When Homo sapiens emerged and spread across Africa, we encountered these archaic populations and interbred with them, just as we later did with Neanderthals outside Africa. But here's the problem. Where are their fossils? Africa has rich archaeological sites spanning millions of years. We've found remains of Homo heidelbergensis, Homo erectus, and many other ancient hominins, but we haven't definitively identified fossils that match this ghost DNA. Some researchers suggest that fossils already in museums might be re-examined and identified as belonging to this lineage. Others believe they lived in regions that haven't been extensively excavated, or that their remains simply haven't survived. Theory 2. Isolated refuges preserving pre-sapiens genetics. Another possibility is that these genetic segments don't come from a separate species, but from deeply divergent populations of our own ancestors. Imagine small, isolated populations that split from the main human lineage hundreds of thousands of years ago. They lived in remote regions, dense forests, isolated mountains, evolving independently while the rest of humanity continued elsewhere. These refuges could have preserved ancient genetic variants that disappeared from other populations. When Homo sapiens eventually encountered them and interbred, those ancient variants re-entered the human gene pool. This would explain why the divergence times are so deep and why we haven't found distinct fossils, because they were still technically Homo sapiens, or close ancestral species, just deeply isolated. Theory 3. Data artifacts and statistical ghosts. Science requires skepticism. Some researchers caution that these signals might not represent real archaic introgression at all. Complex population histories, ancient bottlenecks, migrations, isolation, events can create genetic patterns that look like introgression but aren't. Statistical models can be fooled by incomplete data or violations of their assumptions. Contamination in genetic samples, though unlikely given modern protocols, could theoretically create false signals, or the divergence time estimates could be off due to variations in mutation rates. However, multiple independent studies using different populations and methods have now detected similar signals. The weight of evidence is tipping toward real introgression rather than artifact. Between skepticism and astonishment, a single conclusion persists. something ancient still walks with us in our DNA. But here's the question that haunts researchers. If this interbreeding happened, when? And did our ancestors know they were encountering something different from themselves? What if human cultures remember what science is only now discovering? Across Africa, oral traditions speak of the first people, those who came before, star ancestors, beings who lived in the ancient times before recorded history, who taught skills, who interacted with early humans, and who then vanished. These stories vary widely. Some describe them as giants, others as small forest people, some as ancestors of specific clans, others as spirits who became part of the land. Anthropologists have documented these traditions for over a century, typically interpreting them as mythology, symbolic stories encoding cultural values, explaining natural phenomena, or establishing social structures. But what if these stories are something more? What if they're cultural memories of actual encounters with other human species? Consider the San peoples of southern Africa, whose oral traditions stretch back thousands of years. Some speak of earlier inhabitants who lived differently, who knew the land in ways that were lost. Could these be distant memories of interactions with archaic populations? In Central Africa, pygmy groups have stories of ancient forest peoples who existed before them. Some researchers have speculated whether these could be cultural echoes of encountering anatomically different humans. To be clear, this is not proof. Mythology cannot be used as scientific evidence. Oral traditions transform over time, incorporate symbolic elements, and serve social functions beyond historical record-keeping. But consider this. Aboriginal Australians have oral traditions describing rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age events that happened 10,000 plus years ago. These stories encode real environmental history, passed down through thousands of generations. If cultures can remember landscape changes from 10,000 years ago, is it impossible that some could retain distorted memories of encountering different human groups 50,000 or 100,000 years ago? Perhaps these stories are not invention, but memory made sacred. Not literal history, but cultural residue of encounters. Our ancestors couldn't fully understand meetings with humans who looked different, behaved differently, and whose genetic contribution still flows through our veins. The scientific evidence says interbreeding happened. The genetic signatures are there. The question is whether any human culture remembered it. And here's the deeper mystery. If our ancestors encountered these archaic humans and produced offspring, what happened to them? Why did they disappear while we survived? What does it mean to be human when your DNA comes from species you can't even name? The discovery of ghost lineages in African genomes forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about human identity and evolution. For decades, the story of humanity was one of progress, from primitive to advanced, from archaic to modern. Homo sapiens were the pinnacle, the survivors, the successful species that outcompeted all others. But that narrative collapses under genetic evidence. We didn't outcompete other humans, we absorbed them. Every non-African person carries Neanderthal DNA. Many Asians and oceanic peoples carry Denisovan DNA. And now we know that Africans, and by extension all humans, since we all descend from African populations, carry DNA from unknown archaic species. We are not pure Homo sapiens. We are hybrids, genetic mosaics, the product of hundreds of thousands of years of interbreeding between multiple human lineages. Our DNA is not a signature written once, but a palimpsest rewritten by forgotten hands. This has profound implications. It means that human evolution wasn't a simple tree with branches splitting and ending. It was a braided stream where branches split, flowed parallel, and then reconnected. It means that the biological boundaries between species of humans were always blurry. We were different enough to be distinct, but similar enough to produce fertile offspring. It means that the diversity within humanity, genetic, morphological, behavioral, may be partly inherited from these archaic lineages. Traits we consider uniquely human might actually come from species we've never named. Some researchers have speculated that certain immune system genes, adaptations to diseases, or even neurological variants could be archaic inheritances, genetic solutions to environmental challenges discovered by our evolutionary cousins and passed to us through interbreeding. But here's what we should not do. Use this discovery to fuel pseudoscience, racial theories, or hierarchies. The ghost lineages are found primarily in African populations, and Africa already has the highest genetic diversity of any continent because it's where humanity originated. This discovery doesn't divide humanity into separate categories. It unites us. It shows that all humans share a complex, interwoven ancestry, involving multiple lineages and countless generations of mixing. The boundaries we try to draw between groups, racial, ethnic, national, are cultural constructs laid over a biological reality that is far messier, far more interconnected, and far more beautiful than any simple category system can capture. We are all descendants of ghosts, carriers of DNA from humans we'll never meet, never name, never fully understand. And that's not something to fear, it's something to marvel at. What else is hidden in our DNA, waiting to be discovered? The story of ghost lineages in Africa is still being written. New studies are published regularly, refining estimates, identifying additional populations, and debating interpretations. Some researchers believe there may be multiple ghost lineages, not just one unknown archaic species, but several, each contributing DNA to different African populations at different times. Others are working on extracting ancient DNA directly from African fossils. Africa's hot, humid climate makes DNA preservation difficult, but advances in ancient DNA techniques are making previously impossible extractions feasible. If scientists can extract DNA from fossils of Homo heidelbergensis or other archaic African hominins, they might be able to match the ghost signatures to actual species, give the ghosts names, faces, places in our family tree. But even without fossils, the genetic evidence is compelling. Multiple independent analyses using different methods and populations converge on the same conclusion. Archaic integration happened in Africa. The discovery parallels what we've learned about human evolution elsewhere. Just as Europe and Asia had multiple human species interacting and interbreeding, so did Africa. In fact, Africa was probably more complex. It's a massive continent with diverse environments, deserts, rainforests, mountains, savannas. Each environment could have harbored distinct populations, evolving along different trajectories. When Homo sapiens emerged and spread, we would have encountered these populations. And like our later encounters with Neanderthals and Denisovans, we interbred. The ghosts weren't conquered or exterminated, they were absorbed. Their genes live on in us. Every person of African descent carries this legacy. And since all humans ultimately descend from African populations, we all carry echoes of these ghost lineages, diluted, fragmented, but still present. In the land where humanity began 300,000 years ago, traces of someone even older still linger. We are, all of us, descendants and inheritors of ghosts. The story of human evolution isn't finished. Every genome sequenced reveals new complexity. Every fossil discovered adds new branches to our family tree. Every ancient DNA study rewrites chapters we thought were complete. The ghosts are just the latest revelation. There will be others. Because the deeper we look into our DNA, the more we realize that humanity is not a single story with a simple origin. We are a symphony of lineages, some known, some unknown, all woven together through time. The question isn't just where we came from, it's who else came with us, who else contributed to the genetic fabric that makes us human. And the answer, written in the oldest DNA on Earth, is this: we are more than we thought. We carry more ancestors than we knew, and the story of who we are is still unfolding. So what does this mean for you? If you have African ancestry, and everyone does, if you go back far enough, you carry genetic fragments from humans we can't identify, ghost lineages that diverged from our family tree before Homo sapiens even existed. These aren't just abstract scientific facts. This is your DNA, your genetic history. Written in every cell of your body is a story involving not just your recent ancestors, but species of humans that disappeared hundreds of thousands of years ago. And we're only beginning to read that story. The discovery of ghost lineages in African genomes is less than 5 years old. The techniques to detect them are still being refined. The debate over their interpretation is ongoing. But one thing is certain: human evolution is far more complex than we imagined. The family tree we've been drawing for decades is incomplete. There are branches we haven't found, species we haven't named, chapters of human history written only in DNA. The ghosts aren't supernatural. They're not aliens. They're us. Or at least, they're our ancestors. Different enough to be distinct, similar enough to produce children, human enough to leave their genes in us. And they're a reminder that the boundaries between us and them have always been blurred. That humanity is defined not by purity, but by mixture. Not by separation, but by connection. Every major discovery in genetics reinforces this. We are all related, all connected, all carrying pieces of a shared past that spans continents and millennia. The African DNA discovery that shouldn't be possible is possible. It's real, it's in us, and it's still revealing its secrets. If this video changed how you see human evolution and your own ancestry, hit subscribe. We're diving into more genetic mysteries, from ancient DNA to population origins, to the hidden stories written in our chromosomes. Drop a comment. Did you know about ghost DNA? Have you taken a genetic ancestry test? What did you discover about your own origins? I want to hear your thoughts. And share this video with anyone fascinated by human evolution, genetics, or the idea that we're still discovering who our ancestors really were. The story of humanity isn't finished. Every genome sequenced adds another piece, and the ghosts, they're just the beginning. Thanks for watching.